Hello and welcome to the next 12D Industry Solutions webinar. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at 12D Solutions. Our Industry Solutions webinars are designed to provide insights into overcoming challenges in an evolving industry in more effective and efficient ways. We'll keep running these webinars regularly and recording them for posting on our YouTube channels with links through our websites. The webinars from this Industry Solutions series, as well as the ones from our training series, are available online if you missed those. During this presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, as shown on the screen, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. At the end, I'll also send through your questions to the presenter for his insights. Today's webinar will be presented by special guest Mick Connor. Mick is a survey manager with Fulton Hogan and has over 19 years of experience in surveying. He's been an integral part of Fulton Hogan's role on Sydney's Beeline project and was at the forefront of the adoption of 12D products on the project. In this special presentation, Michael will take us through the benefits of using 12D Synergy and 12D View within 12D Model in a successful surveying and construction firm. Over to you, Mick.
Thanks, Lisa. G'day, guys. So it's Mick here, as Lisa said. Just to sort of give you just a bit more of a detailed history on my position in, I guess, in the infrastructure industry. So I spent about 10 years at Leighton's. Worked on quite a few projects in and around Sydney. Came across to Fulton Hogan probably early 2014. Worked on the Gerringong upgrade project. And survey manager for that project, as well as the Fox Randbury bypass. End of 2016, I came across to the Northern Beaches Beeline program up in Brookvale, and have been here since. So we're starting to ramp down and look for other options further afield. What I wanted to do basically today is just take you through my presentation that I rolled out at the recent 12D International Conference in the Survey Birds of Feather session. Thought it might have been a good opportunity just to sort of just to relay on some of the findings and some of the benefits of viewer and synergy that we found here on the Beeline project, and also what are the benefits we've established throughout the wider group around Australia with this implementation. I want to take you through that journey really, and also sort of taking you through what we've encountered on the project, through obviously the 12D View, the collaboration with Synergy, and the journey that we went through in actually establishing this platform. The office to field was obviously a very integral and important part of what we're trying to achieve, and increasing those efficiencies between the office and field, and also giving our guys remote access to the server to enable the office to field efficiencies to really sort of come to fruition. So yeah, so I'll jump right into it. To give you a brief overview of the challenges we've had on the Beeline project. So we've got a very narrow corridor through the Northern Beaches, Neutral Bay, Cremorne being one particular area that's quite congested with utilities. We've got a 24-hour project basically running around the clock. Most of our works are happening at night, so I'm the only one on during the days, and I've got a fleet of surveyors running around across 10 precincts, over 30 k's. So from the lower North Shore, Neutral Bay in Sydney, if you don't know, just north of the Harbour Bridge, through to the very tip of Sydney. Really, you're up towards Newport, Mona Vale. As I said, all the works are happening at night, and basically, because it's a pretty utility-heavy project, we've had to, challenge ourselves as to how we best manage utilities and how we interrogate and analyse our data to sort of better capture all that, and as well as plan our upcoming night works. So the way we had it set up was that I'd be generating all permits and cross sections and plots, as many of the surveyors on the webinar sort of can appreciate, and it was taking away, I guess, from my day-to-day function. We get bogged down with running these things, and obviously with the advent of Viewer, I challenged the guys here on site, and I really had to sort of drum it into them, the benefits that could be seen through Viewer. And once we got the Viewer established, we're able to, and the buy-in from the engineers, they just flourished. No more we didn't have the 4 p.m. permit, sign off for 20 precincts. The things weren't getting signed off in time for 5 p.m. before everyone started leaving for the afternoon. The engineers were able to run their own permits with the viewer, do their own screenshots and plots, that sorts of stuff. Sorry, not plots, but just screenshots and just interrogation to enable them to streamline that process without having to wait for me for the whole time. If I had engineers lining up to get permits and cross sections done. So basically, we had time, cost, and quality benefits associated with that through this implementation. And I guess the big thing was just the, I don't know whether I say the excitement, but the guys really, grabbed this and really liked the ownership and the accountability, I guess, of being able to sort of understand exactly what they were dealing with in and around the work area that they were in, to be able to see and visualize all the utilities, run their own cross sections. They really did, flourish, and they developed. Taking this thing on, they were then able to leave me to do what I need to do during the day. So the install was very, very simple, very straightforward. 12D turn around the nodes file pretty quickly, but basically you download it from the executable from the forum. You register it. Nodes file basically gets sent to you within, generally within a day. The executable for the nodes is pretty straightforward and basically up and running. So the viewer is updated by me. I run a chain that just outputs the models that I need on a weekly basis, and they just read it in. They just drag, as Lee was saying at the recent conference, you just drag and drop onto the 12D icon, opens up a new project, all the utilities and everything's there. It's a typical screenshot of what we were of what you typically could see on viewer. As you know, it's a limited functionality, but the functionality is fantastic. I said at the conference, and I do apologize for referencing the conference, but the functions that 12D Viewer has is basically 85% of the stuff we do every day, running cross sections, tin to tin analysis, measuring distances, you name it. It's generally everything we do on a day-to-day basis. For this to be taken off my shoulders, I get a lot of my day back really to do the a bit more survey heavy things. What other things the guys liked was obviously the attributes that come up with the string. So inquiring on string attributes, I didn't have to, the guys weren't tapping me on my shoulder asking me who did this survey. They can just bring up the attributes of the string. And this is just obviously the 12D field side of things. This isn't sort of the obviously any 12D field codes or any other attributes we've created. It's purely just a 12D field raw vertex attributes that come with each storage point there. And as long as the guys are populating all those details in 12D field, the surveyor's name, the date of survey all comes up, and they really enjoyed that. I think to be able to sort of know who did the survey and when gives them the ability to sort of go straight to the surveyor, and they're in the loop. They understand and they've seen the data. They've run their own cross sections. So when they go up to the surveyor, there's no stuffing around. It's like, okay, look, I've cut some cross sections. Joe, can you please have a look at this conformance? It really does increase efficiencies in and around the workplace, without having the engineers sit down with the surveyors and run cross sections and data, that sort of stuff. So just a couple of slides just to take you through 12D Viewer. It's probably not too much more to show apart from that. I mean, that screenshot basically tells you everything you need to know, and what it will save you is amazing. If you jump onto the Viewer app, Viewer program, you'll see the benefits then and there. So I encourage you to jump on it and utilize it, because it really will save you a lot of time. I guess from a survey point of view, from our side, we wanted to increase efficiencies as well. We've got this 24-hour project that's running around the clock. We needed to sort of get data in and out really quickly, and I guess I leveraged off a presentation from 2016 from Dave Mayers and the stuff they're doing up at North Connects, and I really saw that as like a light bulb moment, I think. And Beeline was already flagged as a potential project at that point, and I thought Beeline would be an ideal project to really sort of run this program out on Synergy, is what I'm speaking about, and to be able to sort of give the guys remote access to the site, to the server. So, just as a brief overview for what I guess Synergy can do for you. I mean, you've probably seen many of these before, but I guess the efficiencies is a big one for us. The guys going from the office all the time, transferring data, syncing data back into the office. You got 30 Ks around the clock. You got to get data in and out, updated models. It does, an hour here, an hour there to commute backwards and forwards, particularly the lower North Shore. It does become a nightmare. You've got, obviously the single source of truth, which a lot of projects these days are running, but you have ownership of that single source of truth. You've got solid version control. You've got, no more outdated data. You've got the ability to roll back. You've got the admin rights. You can set permissions up. So, if you've got maybe like an undergrad surveyor working for you, you can set the permissions so that, the data that he's seeing is read-only. He can't go into that project and manipulate any of that stuff. So it's all really at your fingertips. You're no longer held to ransom by IT. You own this data. You own this admin. You've got the admin rights. And, through that increased collaboration, the data flow is so much more streamlined and I guess through this you've got these efficiencies that are just sort of popping up all over the place. And I guess from a commercial side, you're going to save a lot of money, and the commercial guys will be happy. But I guess the challenge we had was the need for us, I guess for me and our IT guys, I needed to sort of really collaborate, and that was a big theme of my talk a few months ago. I had to get the right players in the right positions to be able to get buy-in from around the business, because it was something different that really hadn't been, I guess, thought of or explored. It's this new thing that we've got to open up some firewalls and enable these guys to access this data from remote locations. But because as soon as we got buy-in and I got talking to the right people, particularly our IT teams, we've got like a suite of people there. We've got up to 7 guys, potentially even more. And once you talk about your commercial project directors and the guys managing the dollars on each project, getting buy-in from each of them really set the platform. And then from this, it's become almost like a business standard, really. Our IT guys were able to see the benefits of what I was trying to do. They hadn't actually seen it implemented, but I was telling them what it could potentially do. So, being a very New Zealand-based company, I likened it to basically getting your backline set. You chuck the ball in, get the right place in the right position, and then let the ball do the work and let it sing, really. So through their hands we went. We got buy-in from our IT systems manager over in Adelaide. Then she then passed on to our delivery managers, corporate commercial team, I guess the project management team, IT solution architects and business managers. They all saw the benefits, and really, to be honest, it's not that much of a commercial burden to implement this thing. It's more just getting IT on board, releasing the firewalls to enable access. So what we did, it's not necessarily put our data up in the cloud, but this is sort of what it looked like in the end. We essentially moved our data, so we were running our 12V data from the server, from our local project server. We had to actually migrate that data across to its own independent server. That's the best we could do, but it's working well enough. And basically, from that server, we're able to open up the firewalls. I didn't want to open up the firewalls, obviously, on a project-based server, because obviously the security issues, and you'd upset too many people, for all sorts of reasons. So we're able to acquire the server, migrate the data across. We got the 12V Synergy guys, Joel and Bihar on board, and they were able to sort of come in, talk with our IT guys. They talk on that IT level, and they got buy-in. And once the IT guys were brought in, 12D Synergy guys came in, and they were able to sort of really nut it out really within a day. But I just want to sort of stress that it was a journey to get that buy-in to get to this point, and to get buy-in, but once it did happen, the migration was very, very simple. And the proof's in the pudding, really. And I spoke earlier about the benefits. We're just seeing this tenfold, and to be able to sort of give the guys ability to access data, the central data environment from site. The days of having to come back to the office to transfer information around sync, USBs, all sort of stuff, they're long gone for us, really. We've got guys on site picking up data 2 a.m. in the morning. Minute basically they hit store, they check the project in, it's updated, the central data environment's all ready to go. So when I come in the morning, I've got notifications come through that all the data's there, and I can see exactly what's being done. So that's basically sort of that cycle there. You've got the 12V in the office, which is me. I control the central data environment, all the design, and obviously the sharing and all the permissions. That design, any changes, I make. Once I make that change, I check the project back in. That change is then obviously pushed up into the central data environment, but it's also notifications are sent to the surveyor out on site that the design project's been updated. He then does a refresh, or he checks his project back in or looks for changes, and then that model gets updated automatically without him having to resync or anything like that. As long as he's checked he's got his working project. Basically, we've got your design project. If he's running his own working project with his own models in it, he'll just run the sync, and then the update gets done automatically. As long as they've got network coverage, she's all good to go. So this is sort of basically how the infrastructure is sort of set up. We've got our own controlled models up the top there. We've got just basic control designs, very generic, very simple. Only need half a dozen projects. Services, works as X stuff. Then you got your own guys with their own working projects with all their stored data and all their other fluff, whatever they want to have stored in there, that's fine. And basically, whenever that project, these controlled model projects, like your design, for example, is updated, we check that back in. You can see who's checked it back in. You've got all the updates. You can see the history of the project. So basically, when you check a project in, you can obviously you give the details, the description of what it is you've actually checked back in. This is where you sort of obviously get very basically just setting up the notifications. Upon check-in of a project, you can set it so that notifications are pushed out to the surveyors on site to say that, look, Mick has updated the design for road 1, and it gets sent out to all the surveyors. They can then sort of update their projects out on site. Once they check their project back in, they can continue working really. So they basically they don't need to stop. They'll just run that check-in, and then the models just basically get pushed back through from the central data environment, because they've got access. As long as they've got network access, they'll be able to sort of get those updates straight through out on site. And likewise, so there's an example of some of the things that we get pushed out. I might have updated just an XREF in the design project. That email gets sent out to the boys, and they know that I've updated something. They'll just check their working project back in, and the update just comes straight back through, and they just continue working. The rollback functionality is great. You've got the ability to identify if there's an error. You can roll back to a particular date without having to go through the IT side of things, without sort of worrying about the updates. You're basically controlling that. Well, I'm controlling the server. It's purely my server, so I've got admin rights to that, so I can just roll back whenever I want. As I said, these are sort of the rules you can set. There's default rules for different users. You set your users up within the admin space, and you give them the permissions from that. If you want all your surveyors to be able to access the data and manipulate the data, change design, that can happen as well. So depending on capabilities and competencies of each of your guys, you can set those permissions accordingly. So that's just sort of a basic overview of our project. We've got up to 30 k's of a road that we've got to sort of manage. As I said, it's not a very long corridor. It's not a data heavy corridor, but it's just a long corridor with a lot of different things going on at any given point in time. So this is just a screenshot. We've got one of our young guys up there doing a pickup on a car park, for example. I basically needed this turned around pretty quickly, so he went up there. It's about a half an hour drive up the coast. He did the pickup. He stored it, put it into the Works as X project, checked it back in. The email came straight through to me in the office. I opened the project, and the data's already there. So that's about it really. Without sort of elaborating too much. Again, there's a couple of other screenshots. They're from the guys. There's basically what they see in the office, what they see on site running. They're obviously all running 12D Field in conjunction with 12D Synergy. So it's all pretty much streamlined and contained within that one platform. So wanted to keep it short and sharp. Hopefully sort of you've taken a little bit away from it, but I'm also happy to sort of field any questions. At least you can come back to me at a later stage, and I'm happy to sort of field any Q&A that you've got. So look, I'll hand it back to Lisa, but I just want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to any questions you might have.
Thanks for that, Mick. I'll send you through a summary of our audience questions for you to get back to everyone after the session. The recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channels in coming days. Keep an eye on our emails and social media channels for more great upcoming webinar topics in this and our training series. If you need to contact us in the meantime, we'll pop some contact details up on the screen. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.